What if the woman who went quiet on everyone, the one who stopped posting, stopped showing up, stopped answering, wasn't falling apart? What if she was actually winning? Here's something most people will never understand. Right before a spicy lady steps into the greatest version of her life, she vanishes. Not slowly, not dramatically, just completely, like a candle blown out in a dark room. No forwarding address, no long goodbye, no cryptic status update. She's just gone, and the world assumes the worst. They say she gave up. They say she cracked. They whisper about what must have gone wrong. Some even feel a little satisfied, like her silence confirmed every doubt they ever had about her. But here's the jaw-dropping truth they miss every single time. She didn't disappear because she was losing. She disappeared because she was done letting them watch her win. That right there, that's the spicy lady. And in this video, we're going to pull back every single layer of why she goes dark before she blazes. Why the silence is the strategy. Why the withdrawal is the weapon. And why the women who vanish the most quietly almost always come back the most powerfully. Stay with me, because by the time this is over, you're going to see that disappearance in a completely different light. Point one. She was never playing their game. Here's the first thing you need to understand about a spicy lady. She was never interested in the game everyone else was playing. Most people operate inside a social structure, a kind of invisible leaderboard that runs on approval, visibility, and status. You post, you perform, you get feedback. You adjust based on what the crowd gives back to you. Climb the ladder, collect the likes, earn the validation. The spicy lady looked at that system a long time ago and quietly said no thanks. She didn't rage against it. She didn't write a long post about why she refuses to perform. She just stepped off the board entirely and started building something private. Something that had nothing to do with applause and everything to do with purpose. This is where most people misread her. They think she's antisocial. They think she's arrogant. They think she's struggling. But what's actually happening is that she's operating on a completely different frequency. While the world is measuring success by what people can see, she's measuring it by what she can feel. She knows who she's becoming. She knows what she's building. She doesn't need a crowd to confirm it. And the moment she starts getting close to something real, something that actually matters, she pulls back from the noise that was never meant for her anyway. The disappearing isn't a breakdown. It's a breakaway. Point two. She won't win in front of the wrong crowd. Here's something most people genuinely don't think about. It's not just that the spicy lady disappears. It's who she disappears from. She doesn't pull away from everyone. She pulls away from the audience that doesn't deserve the front row. Think about the people who doubted her. The ones who offered unsolicited opinions about her choices. The ones who got uncomfortable when she started to grow. The ones who smiled to her face while quietly hoping she'd stay exactly where she was, small enough not to make them feel left behind. The spicy lady sees all of this. She doesn't always say it, but she sees it. And at some point, she makes a decision that changes everything. She decides she's not going to give those people the satisfaction of watching her stumble through the messy middle of her transformation. She's not going to let them witness her in the uncertain, unpolished phase where she's still figuring it out. She's not going to hand them the ammunition to say, "See, I told you she wasn't ready." So, she removes herself from that audience entirely. She doesn't disappear from life. She just disappears from the wrong people's version of her story. She takes the narrative back. She writes in private, and she only opens the book again when there's something worth showing. When the story is far enough along that no one can question the ending. That's not running away. That's creative control over her own life. Point three. The dopamine trap she refuses to fall into. This one is backed by real psychology, and it's one of the most fascinating reasons the spicy lady goes dark before a breakthrough, that there's a documented phenomenon that happens when people share their goals out loud. When you tell someone about a big plan, when you announce it, explain it, describe the vision, your brain registers a small reward. It treats the announcement like a mini accomplishment. It gives you a little hit of satisfaction, as if you've already made progress just by talking about it. And here's the dangerous part. That reward actually reduces your motivation to follow through. Your brain got its little celebration early. Now the drive to actually do the thing quietly deflates. The spicy lady, whether she's read the research or not, has figured this out the hard way. She's made the mistake of sharing a plan too early. She watched the excitement of the conversation replace the energy she needed for the execution. She felt the subtle drain of having to maintain someone else's expectations of her goal. She learned. So she keeps her mouth shut. She doesn't share the plan until the plan is already working. She doesn't talk about the vision until the vision has already taken shape. She doesn't announce the destination until she's practically already there. It looks like secrecy. It looks like distance, but it's actually discipline of the highest order. She's protecting the fire by refusing to let anyone breathe on it before it burns strong enough to sustain itself. For winning terrifies her more than losing. Say that again louder because it sounds backwards, but it's true. The spicy lady is not afraid of failure. She's already met failure. She sat with it, argued with it, learned from it, and moved on. Failure doesn't shake her the way it shakes people who've never really been tested. She knows how to lose privately, process it thoroughly, and come back without anyone even knowing she stumbled. But winning is different. Winning means people look. Winning means expectations form. Winning means she has to maintain something in public that she built in private. And that gap between her inner world and the outer spotlight is where she gets uncomfortable. Think about it. She spent years becoming incredibly good at being invisible while being powerful. She does her deepest work when no one is watching. She makes her biggest decisions alone. She heals, grows, creates, and evolves all behind a closed door. And now the wind wants to fling that door wide open. That's not something she adjusts to overnight. There's also the narrative control piece. The spicy lady doesn't let other people write her story. She's deeply protective of how she's perceived, what she represents, and what her success says about her. And when a win starts happening faster than she planned, when it starts getting shaped by outside forces more than her own hands, she pumps the brakes. She pulls back to regain control of the story before it writes itself without her. She's not scared of the spotlight. She's scared of a spotlight that distorts her 0.5. She's bleeding energy and nobody knows it. Here's something the spicy lady rarely admits, even to herself. She's an energy absorber. She feels things deeply, more deeply than she ever shows on the outside. She's highly aware of the emotional atmosphere around her. She picks up on tension, on hidden motives, on the subtle discomfort people carry into a room. She reads between the lines. She processes beneath the surface. All of that takes energy, an enormous amount of it. When she's around certain people, the ones who need constant reassurance, who carry heaviness into every interaction, who don't know how to support without also taking, she walks away depleted. Sometimes she can barely name why she feels so tired after a simple conversation, but the reality is that she's been doing invisible emotional labor the entire time. Now imagine she's also trying to build something huge, trying to shift the direction of her entire life, trying to gather enough clarity and courage and focus to take the kind of leap that most people only dream about. She cannot afford to be around energy that costs her more than it gives back. Not right now. Not during this. She withdraws. She creates physical and emotional distance, not out of coldness, but out of self-preservation. She's not abandoning anyone. She's filling a tank that the world has been slowly draining, so she can show up to her own life with everything she has. The disappearance is a refueling stop, not a surrender. 6. The loudest war is the one nobody sees. Nobody talks about this part enough. And honestly, it might be the most important part of this entire conversation. Right before a spicy lady's biggest breakthrough, she goes to war. Not with anyone outside her, with everything inside her. The self-doubt doesn't fade when you're close to winning. It explodes. It comes back louder, sharper, and more convincing than it ever was in the quiet, ordinary days. It speaks in the most personal language, using your own voice, your own memories, your own past failures. You're not ready for this. You've tried before and it didn't work. Who do you think you are? What if this is the mistake that breaks everything? The spicy lady doesn't deflect this by talking to friends about it. She doesn't process it in long journal entries she shares publicly. She doesn't seek an audience for her struggle. She closes the door and she fights it alone. And this is where the outside world gets so confused. They look at her silence and see absence. They look at her withdrawal and see defeat. They have no idea that the woman they think has gone quiet is actually in the middle of the most ferocious internal battle of her life. She's fighting voices. She's dismantling old beliefs. She's rebuilding herself from the inside brick by brick, doubt by doubt, day by day. She doesn't share the battle because sharing it would mean stopping to explain, and stopping to explain would cost her the momentum she needs to win so she fights in silence. And one day, without warning, without announcement, she walks out the other side of that war, changed in ways that no one around her fully understands, because no one watched the fight. 7. Perfection is just fear in a good outfit. The spicy lady would never call herself a perfectionist. She'd call it having standards. She'd call it caring about quality. She'd say she just wants to make sure it's right before she puts it out, and all of that is true. But underneath it, if you look closely, there's fear. Perfectionism is what fear looks like when it's wearing a productive disguise. It lets her stay busy, really genuinely busy, while also never quite finishing, never quite launching, never quite stepping into the ring. Because as long as the thing isn't done, it can't be judged. As long as she's still refining, she's still safe. So the logo needs adjusting. The timing isn't quite right. The plan could be sharper. The product needs one more pass. And the wince is just past that invisible finish line, waiting for a woman who keeps moving it 5 steps further every time she gets close. The shift, the real shift, happens the day she realizes that shipping something real and imperfect is 1,000 times more powerful than hoarding something perfect that nobody ever sees. The world doesn't reward the best kept secret. It rewards the woman who shows up, puts her work in front of people, and has the courage to say, here it is. Done and delivered beats perfect and buried every single time. 8. That her disappearance runs a test she didn't plan. The spicy lady didn't vanish to test anyone. That wasn't the plan. But the universe, it seems, runs that test anyway. When she pulls away, something very telling happens among the people she leaves behind. Some people make it about themselves immediately. They're offended by the silence. They interpret it as rejection. They flood her with guilt messages that are really just thinly veiled demands for her attention and reassurance. They need her to stay visible so that they can stay comfortable. And when she doesn't, they slowly stop reaching out. Then there are the others. The ones who send a message with no expectation of a reply. The ones who check in quietly and leave space. The ones who say, I know you're in your thing. I'm here when you're ready. The ones who don't need to understand what she's doing to trust that she's okay. The ones who give her grace without making her pay for needing it. When she comes back, she knows exactly who is who. She didn't run a loyalty test on purpose, but life showed her with complete clarity who was really there for her growth and who was only there for the access. And that information, that's worth more than anything she could have learned by staying visible. 9. That she sheds skin before she soars. When a snake sheds its skin, it doesn't make a speech about it. It doesn't post a transformation update. It goes quiet. It withdraws. It goes through something uncomfortable and private and completely invisible to everything around it. And when it comes out the other side, it's not the same snake. It's more. It's ready. The spicy lady works the same way. Every major level she's ever reached in her life has been preceded by a period of shedding. A period where she had to let go of an old version of herself, old beliefs, old limits, old identities that no longer fit before she could step into what was next. And that process is never loud. It's never public. It's never convenient for people watching from the outside who just want to see her succeed already.so. When she disappears before a win, sometimes what's actually happening is a metamorphosis. She's becoming the version of herself who can hold what she's about to receive because she knows, even if she can't always put words to it, that you can't carry a big win on a small mindset. The inside has to grow before the outside can reflect it. That disappearance isn't her losing the race. It's her becoming the kind of woman who finishes at 10. Love her right or lose her. If there's someone in your life who moves like this, disappears before her wins, goes quiet right when things get real, this section is for you. Pay attention. Don't chase her. That's rule number 1. When the spicy lady retreats, she's not asking to be pulled back. She's asking for space to find her own way forward. The more pressure you apply, the deeper she goes. The more you demand explanation, the more walls go up. What she actually needs from the people who love her is something much simpler and much rarer. The kind of trust that doesn't have a deadline on it. The kind of support that says, I believe in you even when I can't see you. Without requiring her to prove that the belief is deserved, that don't make her disappearance about you. Don't interpret her silence as rejection. Don't give her an ultimatum dressed up as concern. All of those things communicate the same message. I only support you when you're performing. And that's the fastest way to lose her trust permanently. Just hold the space. Stay in the corner. Let her know you're there without crowding her. And when she comes back, because she will come back, be the person who was still standing there. That's the person she'll never forget. Point 11. She returns like a storm, not an apology. People who watch a spicy lady disappear sometimes spend months wondering if they'll ever hear from her again. Some assume she's gone for good. Some quietly move her story to the past tense. And then one day, without a trailer, without a countdown, without a press release, she's back. But here's what catches everyone off guard. She doesn't slide back in apologetically. She doesn't write along, here's what I was going through post to earn everyone's understanding. She doesn't explain where she was or justify the time she took. She just shows up, present, whole, finished. And the difference between the woman who left and the woman who came back is unmistakable. There's a steadiness to her now, a groundedness that wasn't there before, a quiet authority that makes it clear whatever she was doing in that silence, it worked. The results speak. The presence speaks. The energy speaks. She doesn't have to. The silence was never the end. It was the prep work. And what she built inside of it, that's what she came back to show the world. Conclusion. The truth they never told you. So. Here we are, the full picture. Why do spicy ladies disappear before they win? Because real transformation is not a spectator sport. Because the most important work of her life happens in the space where no one is watching. No one is clapping, and no one can confirm she's heading in the right direction. Because she has learned, sometimes painfully, sometimes slowly, that her best thinking happens in silence. Her clearest vision forms in solitude, and her most powerful moves are made when the audience has already gone home. She disappears because silence is her strategy, because privacy is her protection, because the version of herself she's building deserves to be built without interference. She disappears because she knows something the crowd doesn't. The win is already coming. She just needs a little more time and a little less noise to make sure she's ready to hold it. She doesn't chase the win. She grows into it. She becomes the kind of woman the win belongs to. That's not a small thing. That's the whole thing. If you're watching this and you're in that quiet, invisible, uncertain season right now, you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing in silence. You are building. You are becoming. You are doing the hardest and most important work of your life. And you're doing it with a kind of courage that most people will never understand, because most people will never be brave enough to disappear for something they believe in. Your silence is not the absence of progress. It is the evidence of it. Keep going. And when you're done, when you're ready, when it's time, come back and show them what you built. The world has no idea what's coming. Stay spicy. Thanks for watching, and God bless.